Live this morning with our Thankful Thursday group. Thankful Thursday, the day after Christmas. Happy Boxing Day, and so grateful to see you all. Turning this mic over to you, Lorri, Sharon, and Dove, and Miss Sharon Murphy. Good to see you. Merry Boxing Day, and Happy New Year. The mic is all yours.
Good morning. Hi, Dove. Hi, Lynn. Hi, Sharon. Oh, Sharon just came on. There you are. Okay, good morning. Happy Thankful Thursday. Happy day after Christmas. I hope everyone had a good Christmas. I did. I always do. But then I was thinking yesterday, like, well, do we really need to even make a special day for Christmas? Because we're lucky. We are blessed. In in our spiritual group, every day is Christmas because it's Christ. And we awaken to the Christ in ourselves every single day. And I'm so grateful for that. And it helped me yesterday too, not to make it special. I had a breakthrough where I usually get scared around family gatherings because I worry about, well, who's not going to be here next year at the family gathering? This belief in death and belief in loss. And I didn't do that yesterday for the first time. It was really great. And actually, it was very interesting because my sister, who I live with, had wanted my brother to come over so that all of us kids would be there with my mom, who is 90. And she was saying, I don't think mom's going to be around next year. She doesn't look like she's going to be around. And my brother, who refused to come, it doesn't look like he might be around here next year because he had a stroke this year and he's having trouble recovering. And then my brother-in-law, who knows about that? That's a day by day thing these days, the one I live with. So in actuality, I mean, I've had this my whole life where I've always worried about who's going to be there at the next family holiday. And now it's more like it's definitely a higher probability at this stage. But because of the love in my heart for everyone and not seeing specialness where I just know that I love everyone, I didn't get into the fear yesterday. I started just a little bit and went, whoop, stop. You know that you are love, that everyone's love, that love is all there is, that love is God, and that there's no separation. So stop. And I did. And I'm so grateful for that. Oh my gosh, it is so neat. So we are on the final lessons, which is one of my favorite lessons in the book. Of course, I have many favorite lessons, but these final lessons are such a wonderful mantra that held a class a long time ago on A Course in Miracles, and I told them about this mantra, this holy instant would I give to you. Be you in charge, for I would follow you, certain that your direction gives me peace. And one of my friends who took the class, later on, she showed me or told me that she had carried that mantra in her pocket for a long time after that because it's great. And we do have that. We, when we say, okay, Holy Spirit, help me to see this differently, we get that. So there's an introduction to the final lessons in Ken's journey through the workbook. So I will start reading that. We come now to the final lessons. Lessons 361 to 365 are combined in one, the theme of which appropriately is the Holy Spirit. He is also the theme of this lovely introduction. At the workbook's conclusion, Jesus leaves us in the Holy Spirit's charge to continue our journey as he has throughout. In addition, embedded in this final theme is the reminder that our purpose in the world is forgiveness, through which the memory of God returns to our minds. So yes, our purpose in the world is forgiveness. And when we have that every single day is Christmas. It's the Christ Mass. And that's what I was doing yesterday. That's right. my purpose is forgiveness. My purpose is to wake up from this world, not to make this world be as I would have it be, where all my family members do as I would have them do, where I have it look with the bodies that I separate out and make special, that those bodies are handling things the way I would have them handle them, be here or not be here. All that specialness, like even the specialness of the day of Christmas, make every day Christmas. See the shining star shining within you instead of without. And as chapter 15, Christmas as the end of sacrifice, talks about, let go of all these different beliefs that you have every day that make you upset or feel separate or scared or angry or sad. Let them go. So I texted my brother who didn't want to come. Because he had a stroke, and I think he feels funny about the way he talks now, and he has trouble eating. He didn't want to be seen. And so I texted him and said, I feel sad that you're not coming, but okay, Merry Christmas. And just loved him, just knew that, what? The body doesn't mean anything. I can love him and be one with him, whether his body is here at Christmas dinner or not. And that felt so good to know that and to hold that truth. And let's see. So the final lessons introduction, and I think I said hi to you, Cher, but if I didn't, I say hi to you now. The introduction to the workbook lesson says, our final lessons will be left as free of words as possible. We use them but at the beginning of our practicing, and only to remind us that we seek to go beyond them. Okay, Ken says, Jesus is continually reminding us of our purpose, which is reflected here in not making words into reality. And as I was doing yesterday, not making bodies into reality, not making a special day into reality. Thus, the words of A Course in Miracles are not sacred, but their source, the love that inspired them, most certainly is. That love is in all of us. And so we need to be reminded again and again as we go through our day that our purpose is to learn forgiveness, the means of undoing guilt and returning with our brothers to the home that lies beyond all words and symbols. Paragraph 1, lines 3-4 read, let us turn to him who leads the way and makes our footsteps sure. To him we leave these lessons, as to him we give our lives henceforth. And Ken says, the purpose of this 1 year of practice has been learning to be secure in the awareness that the Holy Spirit is the only true teacher. Thus, it is his lessons, guidance, and love we would follow. When we are tempted to be upset, sick, angry, or otherwise preoccupied with our specialness, it is because we first pushed him away and chose the ego instead. So one of the things I've been noticing about the specialness is the areas in which I didn't even realize I was making things special. For example, I've always been so grateful for my family. My family is loving and kind and supportive. And I see people with family conflict all the time and families that don't get along well. And I'm just so grateful. But then I realized, well, that's kind of special in the sense that it makes me feel like I'm a body or a person in this world who has something different. And when I saw that and said, no, I can let go of that specialness, that took away a lot of the fear around my family members dying or not being there at the next holiday. And it's like, wow, I never even noticed that specialness because it was something in this world that was good, right? It was something good in this world, but that good thing could be taken away through the idea of death and the idea of bodies. So I'm so grateful to have been shown that. But it's subtle. There's just so many subtle things that the ego gets in there with. And Ken says that is why our vigilance needs to be focused on the ego's lies as the means of remembering the Holy Spirit's truth. It is our minds that need vigilance to choose against believing in the ego and choosing for God and his kingdom, the third of the Holy Spirit's 3 lessons. Thus does our corrected belief undo the ego's doubt, allowing us to move beyond all belief to the certainty of God. And then he quotes from chapter 6, the lessons of the Holy Spirit. The third step is thus one of protection for your mind, allowing you to identify only with the center where God placed the altar to himself. Altars are beliefs, but God and his creations are beyond belief because they are beyond question. The voice for God speaks only for belief beyond question, which is the preparation for being without question. As long as belief in God and his kingdom is assailed by any doubts in your mind, his perfect accomplishment is not apparent to you. This is why you must be vigilant on God's behalf. The ego speaks against his creation and therefore engenders doubt. You cannot go beyond belief until you believe fully. And with that, I'm going to turn this over to Sharon.
Lori, that was wonderful. You had such a flow going. No, what is awakening anyway? It's the escape of concepts. Because love's presence has always been here. And, for this mind, I overlook it, and realize that maybe there's more. And that's that 10,000 things. But I just love the way you just flew into that. Like when you don't have these beliefs coming up anymore, of like, what if my family member dies? Like that would have been a belief I had as a little girl. It's interesting, these thoughts that we have. And again, the little girl is happening right now because I'm mentioning it. This little girl's gone. I mean, in a world of form, I'm soon to be 70. And what I want to say is that because I bring a thought back, I am living that little girl again, but in a good way, because it's not really who I am. It's a costume. It's God in drag. So what's happened for me is that I realize that the ego is thinning out. It's thinning out. It's not in front of love's presence. It's not complaining like it was, and I don't know what that means because, I could rest here in God and just be in truth. But, when these patterns are coming up because the mind is full of layers, it's just another layer and it's just energy. And all we want to do is release that energy, right? The opinion of the separate self mattered to me a lot, especially when it came to as you all know, the election. And now I don't care. I don't watch it. Something has happened at this moment, and it could change, that I don't have interest too much in the outer picture. It's all inside me. So who do I have to wake up? It's only now. Because the ego does not want to get into the present moment. That's the whole point. It's the one part of us that will always give us that apple that Snow White did and say, take a bite and you won't feel anything and you'll feel instant pleasure. And that's what it does. It gives you pleasure all the time. But the pain is so severe. So it's kind of like enticing, and the guilt, the attraction to it. And I know that I still have layers to undo. And there'll probably be judgments eventually coming through. But at this point, I'm not worried about any of this coming up because it's divine timing. The divine is doing it all. It's never been the ego. The ego's never even been there, but just concepts. And it appeared to take me a very long time, over 20 years, doing this process, but it's not true either. The knower knows who it is. The knower is the Holy Spirit. Watching this movie and thinking we're crazy that we really want to be these people. What benefit do I get to be a person? And that is separateness. And it's all about that. It's all about the specialness of separation, right? So when the clouds move and the clarity comes through, it's always been there. It's just been hidden. And so when I move into the present moment, I've never not been there because that's what I am. And the actual movement of the concepts really didn't happen. It's just happening in my mind, right? Because it doesn't really matter about others because they're really just one. And often I'll want to meet an ego that thinks like I do because that gives us that reflection of oneness. But it doesn't really give us the oneness because we still have separate ideas and thoughts and all of that. So what is Ken saying here? He's saying, we once made the mistake of believing the ego's lies of sin, and sin is separation. And it's funny because the ego is really nothing. It's a separated thought, but the belief in it, the thing that Ken has said over and over, and what I have been doing is saying to Jesus, I don't want to be separate, obviously, because I still believe in X, Y, Z. And when I do that, I get lifted up because I'm no longer pushing against the failure idea that I have in my mind, that the ego gave me. You'll never get there because, and it's just all of that. So, Christmas was beautiful here. We had a dinner, and it was all last minute. My daughter-in-law got sick. There was just different things that were coming through, but it ended up that it was a lovely evening, a very relaxed evening. And the night of Christmas, I would say Eve, we watched It's a Wonderful Life. And that is just epic for me because I feel like, what did Bill Bailey have to learn? Gratitude. Gratitude. Right? It was always about the fact that no one could make Bill Bailey a bad guy, but it certainly looked that way in the movie. And isn't that what God and drag plays here? We are all like these bad, bad people doing bad, bad things, and they're all just concepts. So it's kind of interesting that, progress happens in spite of this ego, in spite of it, right? So he's saying, Ken, A Course in Miracle is only one spiritual path. But whatever path we choose, regardless of its symbols, the only way we reach him is to relinquish belief in the self that believes in separation, anger, pain, and death. Now, death would still be something that I definitely need to look at because, if I join with the ego, I'm going to miss my kids, my grandchildren, and it's a story. But it's probably one of Sharon's favorite stories for children, right? Because I enjoyed being a mom. I don't think there was ever a time, I think when I was very, very upset that I might lose a child, that kind of was like, oh, why did I even do this kind of thing? But these thoughts were not originated by the witness. The witness knows we made it up, and it's the one mind making it up. I have a friend who has a family member that's struggling, and she said, did I make that? Well, some people say yes. Some people say, your soul's plan is a book. But what difference does it make? The I is always the infinite, right? Because there's no little I. So it's only more guilt if we believe we hurt somebody. And the thing about this process is that when the ego's coming undone, the guilt is coming up as like a flame sometimes, where we want to be right, or I want to be right. I want what I want. There's no guilt in any of this. It's all just a game of separation, right? So he's saying here, through joining with the Holy Spirit in our right minds, and you can't not join with the Holy Spirit. I could say that the Course's mind training in the beginning was the reason that, I aligned to spirit. But I think this happens regardless of a book, because even though there are no others, there's seemingly beings that wake up without even reading a book, right? And I often talk about that popcorn. You pop one and then you pop another. And if someone has like awakening is really ridiculous because we're already awake, right? There's no form, it's just imagination. But there was a specialness in awakening that I hooked onto. I thought that would be a special thing for me to just be happy that I didn't fail my life. Because 20 years ago, when I came to Altoona, I said to my cousin, I failed, I hate myself. And that's just what I needed, right? Just to honor that hate with all the losses I had. But there was always presence here, always. And there was always I have a friend that back home who isn't here in body anymore. And she and I, got separated at the same time. And I told her, I'm just going to put my life in God, period. And she said, well, that's not going to give you anything. That's not going to give you anything, because what does that mean? And I didn't say a word, but it gave me everything. And she since is deceased by suicide. Now, that's my script. It didn't matter whether she lived or she didn't, but the idea that when that thought comes in, I want only God, that is God being God, saying, I want this girl to realize she's suffering, or the seeming girl, for things that never happened. And it's what Dove calls mental masturbation. So in the new year, if we take it just a chunk at a time, in every moment, where is the attention? It's like ego has fooled this mind long enough. So I want to just be in that joy that Jesus is in. And that's going to be a reflection, because he's still really in, as we all are, in with the Creator. Anyway, over to you, Doug.
All right. Thank you so much. I'll listen to both of you. I'm going to just say good morning, everybody, and lovely seeing everyone here. Miss Sharon, Mickey, Miss Len. I'm not going to be here during the 12 o'clock hour, which I know this is Thankful Thursday, but I'm taking Happy in for grooming, and I'll be away. I'm listening to Lorri saying, I don't know why they make Christmas one day. Every day is Christmas. And I've been saying that almost, well, for a long time. Every day is Christmas, because what is Christmas but seeing the Christ in all that you meet? You're honoring the Christ, but this Christmas is a holiday. We're honoring one person, Jesus Christ. But Jesus says, listen, I'm you, I'm you. So if you think the Christ is somebody that's not you, you're listening to the ego. So every day is Christmas. And then I was listening to Sharon talking about being grateful, and Prudence plays Ken Wapnick every day, and she's added a little thing from a woman who says, gratitude is saying I'm wrong and Jesus is right. And he says, that's right. That's what gratitude is recognizing that everything that you think about anything doesn't mean anything, and that Jesus, in the way he gives you what is a fact in the Course in Miracles, is true, is real. So I put up on the board in the chat what Kenneth Wapnick says about the final lesson. The final lesson, basically, I put a picture up there. Be you in charge, Spirit, for I would follow you, certain that your direction gives me peace. Now, the funny thing is, I've been I started my first 27 years of doing the course using the final lesson as my mantra lesson. I figured it gives me everything. I'm putting Holy Spirit in charge of my requests, knowing the direction it leads me, peace. If I need a word, the word will be given to me. If I need a thought, the thought will be given to me. And if I need a still, peaceful, tranquil mind, that will be mine as well. I said, my God, that's everything, you know. And that went on for 27 years. And then all of a sudden I started, it was the day I heard Ken Wapnick talking about the introduction to the clarification of terms. And I heard this voice said, "Hey, Dov, close the book already. You're not going to find yourself in a book of symbols, words. You're not a symbol, you're not a word, you're not a concept. Close the book." And I realized I was using the final lesson as a filter. And I noticed I wasn't really always using it. I only use it when there was an important thing, like I was called into traffic court to, you know, to answer a speeding ticket or something like that. And then before I went, I would do the final lesson, figuring that the right words would come. But I didn't use it every day, you know. I mean, I figured I was as good as anything else, right? Of course, that's the ego. And I realized that really wasn't doing anything for me after 27 years. That's when I chose lesson 25, which is my mantra lesson now for the last 20 years. And that is, I do not know what anything is for. Because if you think you know what anything is for, that's the ego again, you know. So it's saying I do not know, that allows me to actually hear what is true, because if you already know what is true, you can't hear what is true. So I'm just going to look at what Ken Wapnick here. I always put up his one-liner on every lesson, and this is what he says. It's a fact. Starts off with, it's a fact that the peace of God is already here. And of course, if you're doing the course, you know that. I mean, that is what's real. What's real can't be threatened. Goes on to say, in the presence of the right-minded truth of the atonement, moreover, in the holy instant, we're outside of time and space, so there is no longer a journey to the peace that is ours. So he's telling you that this is not a journey of going from here to there. That's how the ego sees everything, you know, like, well, one day I'll be there, you know. No, it's right here, right now. It's always here, right now. And by saying I do not know, it's a perfect way to enter the nowness. Because in the nowness, if you think you know, you're not in the now, you're in the past. That's the only way you can know anything, is from the past. And the past is always kind of worried about the future, which really brings up what it is I want to say, which is this course is about letting go of worry and fear. Worry and fear is always about the future. It's always about the worry of something's going to happen, and I don't want it to happen. And if it happens, you know, I'm gonna lose. I won't be the same. Of course, that's impossible. It's impossible that what God created can lose or be different. Kind of reminds me of that shalom, peace. But as I said last Sunday on John Monday, the mystical meaning of shalom is much deeper than the idea of peace now. The idea of shalom is nothing is ever missing, and nothing is ever broken. Nothing could be lost. Nothing could be taken away from you. but the ego is always worried about things being lost and taken away from you. I come to this topic because right in the middle of my Christmas day, up came something that was out of nowhere, and the thought was, oh my God, I'm going to lose something. And whenever you think about loss, it's always the ego, always the ego. So loss is impossible, literally. I mean, if you're going to do the course and you're accepting the idea that that which is real can't be lost, that which can be lost doesn't even exist, herein lies the peace of God. So the peace of God is always here now. It's always what is, like isness is your only business. Yeah, God is, I am, we are, the idea, I think it was you, Sharon, who used the word, what is the benefit to me being a body? That was a great question. What is the benefit to me being a body? None, zero. I mean, bodies grow old and die. And what is the benefit of growing old and dying? Well, I can mostly be young and, I can celebrate my youth and my children and my this, my that. And yes, sooner or later, it all fades away. It just fades away, just like a cloud. First you see it, then all of a sudden you look back, it's not even there anymore. You gotta laugh, really do. You just gotta laugh. Yeah, that word benefit. What would benefit me is always reminds me of, would a beneficent father really want to see his children in pain? Really? Would a beneficent father really want to see his children crying? Really? A beneficent father really want to see his children die? Really? But that's what the world is. The world is really an attack on the love of God. That's right out of the Course of Miracles. The world is an attack. Oh, I'm so happy to be here. No. You fell into a deep sleep and you remembered not to wake up. And also you took it seriously and you remembered not to laugh. That's why you got to laugh, really. And with that, I'm going to ask Mickey, share. Anybody, Lynn, want to share before we go back to the rotation? Anyone want to share on any of this? If not, Lorri, it's yours.
Okay. And if you do want to share, just raise your hand. And I love that. So, Dove, I'm finally catching up to you. You said you've been saying every day is Christmas for years. And I just figured that out just now. So, but hey, I'm catching up to Dove. I don't want to make you special, but you are one of my heroes. But I also see you as me. We are one, and every ego is fallible. So even when I have a hero, I recognize, hey, but bodies, don't put them on a pedestal. And Sharon, it's so funny what you said when you were going, It's a Wonderful Life is one of your favorite movies. And you were talking about Bill Bailey. I'm going, Bill Bailey, that doesn't quite sound right. Bill Bailey, I think it's Harold Bailey. No, and so it wasn't Harold Bailey either. I looked it up. It's George Bailey.
Oh, thank you.
But I had to laugh because I feel my dad in songs, and my dad and I used to sing from these song sheets all the time. And one of the songs was, Won't you come home, Bill Bailey? Won't you come home? I've missed you all day long. And it's so funny because that song, talk about special relationships. It's about how she threw him out. Remember that rainy evening? I threw you out with nothing but a fine-tooth comb. And it's, I know I'm to blame. I'm the one to blame, but ain't that a shame? Bill Bailey, won't you please come home? And a lot of my relationships were like that. I used to throw my lovers out. It just like, I'm breaking up with you. And when I was with Rod, I was with him the longest of any relationship, 16 years. And he said to me early on in the relationship, he said, how come every time we have a fight, you break up with me? And it was just this like, what? It never even occurred to me. And then I thought, well, because we're going to end up breaking up anyway, so I might as well do it now and get it over with. Because it was that constant belief in loss. And like what you were saying, Dove, loss is always of the ego. And I made this commitment in the last year to be done with that belief in loss and death, just done. And so Rod pointed that out to me, but I kept doing it. I kept doing it. I kept imagining it in my head. But it's like, that's not mine. That's part of the ego structure of this particular dream character. That happens to be one of the biggies. And it comes in those forms of relationships, not just romantic ones, but all relationships with people that I love. And so it's like, I don't need that anymore. It's like, no. And so yesterday at Christmas, it was like, it's happening. You are turning your mind over to the Holy Spirit so much that you're not getting sucked in like before. Because usually at holiday gatherings, I start having breathing problems. And then I have to use my inhaler. And it's like, oh, the ego could say, well, that's because all these people who have cats come over and they have dander on their clothes. Well, that's a cause in form. That has nothing to do with it. So I caught myself yesterday starting to have the breathing problems. And if you think about that, it's like fear, like fear of loss. And it's like, no, stop. You don't have to fear that. This may be the last time you see your mother. Don't get into fear. It's like, you know what? You know darn well you're going to be closer to your mother when her body's gone than you are now. Because I don't even really like going to my mom's house because she smokes. And I don't like coming home smelling like smoke. I've got to take a shower. It's disgusting. But I love my mom, and it's so anyway, all those crazy things. But that I had to laugh because with the George Bailey versus Bill Bailey, and talk about the opposite end of the spectrum of special relationships. So on the one hand, It's a Wonderful Life. He goes through all this hell. George Bailey goes through all this hell in his life. And then in the end, great, he recognizes, yeah, no, love is important. And I have been important by giving love to people. And that is the only thing that's valuable here. But it's not a wonderful life because life is hard. He had a hard life. And in Hollywood, sees all this hardship. You go through hardship for 2 hours, and then at the end they wrap it up with a bow, right? But I love that movie too. I mean, it's like, oh yeah. But that's what we do with this life. I remember back when I was doing house cleaning, and I cleaned this house for 10 hours. And I was exhausted. I came home and I was drinking my cup of tea, and I was reading my book and drinking my cup of tea and feeling so much warmth and glow from drinking the tea and feeling so relaxed and thinking, wow, this makes it all worth it. And then the thought came to me like, what? You just spent 10 hours busting your butt, and this 5 minutes with this cup of tea and book makes it all worth it? And that's what we do. That's what the ego does with this whole life. It's like it has 2 hours of crap in the movie, and then at the end, it's like, oh, but it's a wonderful life, And so even if you go with the song Bill Bailey, where she kicks him out, and then she wants him back, or we go with It's a Wonderful Life, all of it is the specialness. And last night, I was feeling very cozy in my bed and just grateful for my bed, but also feeling enveloped in the peace and love of God. And just with the mantra, this world holds nothing that I want. It really, truly doesn't hold anything that I want. And it felt so good to know that. And at the same time, be able to feel like I can love everyone and be present with love, because the love is not of this world, but it's in this world. It's here, And so in the past, I didn't know how to manage that. I would swing back and forth between, oh, I love so many things. Oh, I hate this world. I love so many things. I hate this world. And now it's like, no, you just know that the world isn't what's really giving you those things. I think what's happened is that the meditations that I've been doing have been so clear about how everything comes from within me. And of course, I could have intellectually said that before. Oh, yeah, happiness comes from within. It's not having anything to do with what is in the outer. But I didn't live it. And I didn't really believe that, because my experience was the outside made me happy or made me sad. But now it's not that way. And I am so incredibly grateful for that. So, and a lot of that is due to A Course in Miracles and ACIM Gather and everything. So I also appreciated, Dove, what you said about the deeper meaning of shalom, that nothing can be lost. Or we could maybe even say that, like, peace is, God is, truth is. And those phrases have been meaning more and more and more to me, rather than sticking concepts on them. Just God is, peace is, all the attributes of God, or concepts that we think are attributes of God, because we can't even come close. Anyway, I'm going to turn this back over to you, Sharon.
I just love your enthusiasm. It's beautiful and contagious. It's funny, George was his name, and I called him Bill. You're so right when it comes to the ego. And what is the ego really? It's just a thought. It's not really an entity. It's belief that makes it really real. But again, it's a process. And I bring myself back with, in one moment, you can be in one place. You can be in the right mind and completely at peace. And then all of a sudden, the unconscious mind comes up and there's a belief, and there you go. And that's what we're doing all day. But with the ego story, like, let's take It's a Wonderful Life. It's always about him getting, George will get it soon. Like, in other words, it's always the future that we're going to make it. However, what I picked up in the movie that's very important to me is service. Because, even though the Course basically doesn't give you any kind of things to do, you don't have to do any of it. The thing that makes me the happiest is when I'm serving a seeming other brother. And it's because it's the reflection of love. And that's how I live in that flow when I'm conscious. And being conscious really means being aware that these thoughts are really not my thoughts. Because these thoughts aren't personal. They come in and they're not personal. It appears when we start the path that every thought, I came to Altoona, and the one thing I said to my sponsor at the time was, I can't see the trees. I have so many thoughts. The thoughts were so coming in, and I didn't understand, like, why was I getting hit with so much in my mind? But it's all part of the divine design. In fact, everything that happened negatively, seemingly was for me. Maybe there are still some beliefs, and there are, because I'm telling you, if somebody said tomorrow, well, it's your last day, I'd probably cry, because I love it here now, because I don't have the same. And it's funny, because just a month ago, I didn't love it here. And you see the difference. Like, who would you rather be in this moment? Would you rather be form and not love it here? Or would you rather be everywhere all the time in everyone? And that's just a question to bring into this 2025 year, that, I can't help but think that all of this that's happening in politics is happening for us. It can't not be. We don't know what will happen, and boy, does the ego want to know what's going to happen. But why why would it be any different than the story of Earth anyway? It's always like a rotation of just beliefs. This whole thing of the vibrations. It's, Sailor Bob was one of my books that I really love very much. And I would read about it, and he'd say, it's vibrational energy. You're not even like we think, or I think I'm here, and Lori's there, and Dove's there, and Cher's there, and hi Cher, and Mickey's and everybody's there. But no, these are vibrational energies. And for a finite mind, we cannot understand it. And that is the prize when I can say, I don't care if I understand it. Can I let go of it? Right? We've all heard that before. So in this moment, I am complete. I mean, I have no grievances at the moment. And grievances are the only thing that really blocks this peace. So what am I going to say? I think I'll come up with another grievance so I can then have tension through my body, headaches and everything else. Or is it time to release the grievances one by one by one? And that takes vigilance like Robbie has. I always have a thing like meet people where they are, because if someone's struggling, they can't get there. And I don't want any son of God to feel less than, because I want to feel complete. And when I see them complete, I still hug them and love them, and whatever they are, any thought that comes up, it could be a loving thought. It's no different than a hate, because they're just concepts. So what is it now that I truly want? And that is the peace of God. And that means that's all you want. But that has to be a habit developed deep within. And vigilance is now necessary. So anyway, I'm going to turn this over to you, Doug. I am complete for the day, and I will see you all probably tonight. And Zoom, I'm looking forward to listening to you. Okay, that's it. Doug, over to you.
Okay, I'm going to pick up on what you were just saying. Everything is really happening for us. That very famous paragraph that I say is my favorite paragraph in the course. Let's see, what does it say? And right this second, I've lost contact with. That's how my computer works. I lost contact with
What can you not
the
accept?
Zoom room, but I'm going to just go over that very famous line. This is in lesson 135, which is, if I defend myself, I'm attacking myself, in which he talks, for 6-7 paragraphs, a healed mind does not plan. So the ego, which is not a healed mind, is always planning, well, I got to do this, I got to do that. And actually, he's saying the exact opposite. When you finally get to paragraph 18, he says, what could you not accept if you knew that everything, I like that word, everything, all that happens, all events, past, present, and even to come, is gently planned by one whose only purpose is your good? Wow. Why am I so worried and think this bad things are going to happen? Yeah. Perhaps you have misunderstood his plan, for he would never offer pain to you, but your own defenses did not let you see his loving blessing shine in every step you ever took. So, yeah, things happen. And the way recently I've been turning them around and said, but Dove, you asked for this, remember? It's not happening to you. He tells you that in responsibility for sight. Everything that seems to happen to you, you have asked for, and you have received exactly as you have asked. Deceive yourself no longer. Big sentence. Stop deceiving yourself. Acknowledge that you have been mistaken, and all of your mistakes will disappear. So as long as you think the world is doing this to me, you're forgetting that you asked for this world so that you can be right instead of happy. It's really that simple. I noticed in my 12 core themes of Course in Miracles, which I send out to anyone who wants it, all you have to do is send an email to acimgather7@gmail.com and just put 12 up in the subject line, and I'll send it to you. And the other thing you can send is if you want the Ken Wapnick quotes. We're now around 45 Ken Wapnick quotes. Just send another email to acimgather@gmail.com and just put Ken quotes in the subject line. You can do both. You can say Ken quotes and 12 and 12. So I'll send you both. Anyway, getting back here, I noticed, and I just opened it up a few minutes ago. It was pretty much why I just lost Zoom. That's on my computer. I got a crazy computer. It says spirit accepts always. So let's see. He's asking you, what can you not accept? If you knew that everything that happens, all events, past, present, and to come, are gently planned by one whose only purpose is your good. Now, this is right out of the Course, by the way. This is what he says. Spirit accepts and ego analyzes. As soon as you analyze, you're listening to the ego telling you how terrible things can get. You can lose this, you can lose that. And the reason I actually am mentioning this from the 12 core themes is that you, Lorri, mentioned that you like the idea of, you mentioned the idea of shalom is deeper meaning is nothing is broken or missing. Guess what? I never even realized that this is part of the 12 core themes. Now, whether it's something that I put in from my earlier understanding or something that came from the Course in Miracles, I don't know. But it says spirit accepts always, knowing that all is perfect. Now, the ego certainly doesn't see things as perfect. It's got to do something in order to make something happen. If I don't do this, if I don't go see this person, it's not going to happen. No, none of that is true. None of it. Spirit accepts always, knowing that all is perfect. And then it goes on to say, ego analyzes everything. Yeah. I mean, ego says, well, I know what's going to happen if I don't do this and if I don't do that. Things get terrible. Yeah, that's what Dove did yesterday. I was analyzing something and things did get terrible. Seeing something is broken or missing is how the ego see, oh, I'm going to lose this. This is going to happen. No, that happens only if you analyze, and only the ego analyzes. Only the ego. Spirit accepts always everything, just accepts and says, don't worry about it. There is nothing to fear. Isn't that lesson 48? There is nothing to fear. This is a fact. Now, if you find yourself being afraid of something, obviously you're listening to a teacher that wants you to live in fear. If you live in fear, you cannot possibly know the love that you are. You cannot possibly know the love of God. You're always fighting yourself. You're beating yourself up without mercy, literally. I mean, have you ever been in a schoolyard and someone just beats you up without mercy? And that's the same thing as listening to the ego. It goes on to say here, yeah, the ego is a problem-solving machine. It loves to solve. Oh man, I know how to solve this. I'll go see this guy, go see that guy. This guy, that guy. No, there's nothing outside of you that really means anything. Where are you going to see people? A problem-solving machine. That's what the ego is. And then it says a prison. Yeah, you're stuck in this prison thinking that you're free. Oh, I can do this. I can do it. All that doing is a prison. And then it says peace. Shalom says nothing missing and nothing is broken. Yeah, wow. So is it possible to just accept all things exactly the way they are, knowing that everything that happens is happening for me. The ego says, well, you're crazy. This is not for you. You can die. No, who we are cannot die. Who we are cannot die. Who we are. God doesn't create things that die, doesn't create things that are not eternal. So, you know that the love, what love creates is changeless, doesn't change. So if you're looking in the mirror and you see changes and you want to stop the changes, you're listening to the wrong voice again. So we all have two voices, the voice of the ego that knows what everything is about, knows everything about everything because it made it all up. Literally, it just made everything in this world up. And so it is the authority. It is the authority on what's going on in this world. This is good. This is bad. This is right. This is wrong. And the mind is divided. Along comes spirit, who sees that there's nothing here in this world because everything is divided and separate and different. Anything that's divided, separate, and different is not of God. What is of God is whole, complete, pure, perfect, now. It's always now. There's nothing outside of now. You got to laugh, really. And if there's nothing outside of now, then where are we? It's not where, it's not what, it's where we truly are is in the mind of God. And we have forgotten that a long time ago because we think that we're a body, and there are no bodies in the mind of God. There's just the love of God, the peace of God, the gentleness, the open-mindedness, total trust. Yeah, to rely upon spirit totally is to be exactly what this final lesson is all about. Be you in charge, Holy Spirit, at my request, knowing the direction that you lead brings me peace. He's not leading you anywhere. He's just telling you there's nothing you need to do. I need do nothing. Will save you a century of doing. That's what he says in chapter 18, section 7. I see there's only 3 minutes left, so I'm going to just say thank you all. It's been a wonderful, thankful Thursday. I'm going to turn this mic back on. Over to you, Lorri Coburn.
Mickey, I saw your hand up earlier and now it's down. Would you like to say something?
I might have, but I can't remember what it was now.
I have that. I've added notes. Well, we're all saying the same thing, right? God is. Love is. This world's not real. Wake up.
I think it was about when you and Dove were talking about make everyday Christmas, and it reminded me of the line in the chorus, make this year different by making everything the same. And I always thought that meant don't make anything special, keep it low key, and the way you guys were talking, it was more like make everything a holiday. And I'm like, look at where my brain went. Don't make anything a holiday. So I think that's it just shows you where our brains go. Anyway,
That's
something like that.
Well, and that's where I used to be all the time too. It'd be like, oh, I hate this world and I just want everything, just get out. And now it's more like, oh, I can just be happy every day. And what a difference. But that line, that make this year different by making everything the same, is from that section of Christmas as the end of sacrifice, chapter 15, section 11. So yeah, that's what we were talking about. So it's great. Thanks, Mickey. I just wanted to comment, let's see, 1 minute left, on what Sharon said about the Course doesn't talk much about service. And I looked up the word service, and it's only mentioned 21 times, but the first one is a miracle is a service. And what it made me think of is giving and receiving are the same. So the way the Course talks about service in this world is that giving and receiving are the same. What we give, we receive, and we know that, and it feels so good. And that is true about a lot of spiritual paths. You just end up being of service in whatever way the Holy Spirit tells you to. So with that, I'm going to let go of the mic. It's time for Zulma. Hi, Zulma, and happy Thursday. And thank you, everyone. I'll see you next week. Bye, in the new year. But what is that except a concept that we break time and break days into time, right? Okay, bye.
Thank you guys so much. What a beautiful sharing, wonderful hour. And